Can you make it a little bigger on the screen? It's a little better. There you go. Thanks, sir. See that there. Well, it is 6 o'clock on Tuesday, April the 15th. We will call the Grayson County Planning Commission to order this time. Matter of opening business is approval of the agenda. Has everyone had an opportunity to look at the agenda? We have a motion to approve as is.
I move we approve.
Do we have a second? Have a second. All in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. The agenda is approved for tonight. Now the approval of February 18th, 2025 meeting minutes. They were sent in the packet. Does everyone have an opportunity to review those? Any revisements or anything need to be made?
I move we approve the minutes.
Have a motion to approve the minutes for the meeting on February the 18th. Do we have a second? Have a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
No, before we get
Sorry.
detour from the agenda, I mean, it just,
We forgot to do a little bit of revisement tonight's agenda. We do have a new board member, which Ms. Black's going to do a formal introduction, if you will.
welcome, Mr. Hyatt. For all of those that do not know, Mr. Taylor Hyatt is our new Providence district. He is representative, so he is here with us tonight and going to get his feet wet in his first public hearing. And so if each one of you would go around and introduce yourself, tell them where you serve. We are missing two of our planning commission members tonight. We've got Justin Funk, also Providence, and Howard Dean Sharp. He is Wilson District. He is also absent.
All right. Mr. Boyer, you going to kick us
Dan
off?
Boyer, Old Town District, Baywood area.
Charlie, Elm Creek District.
Travis Jones, Elk Creek District.
Lisa Hash, Wilson District.
Gary Ballard, Old Town District.
Brian Walls, Wilson District.
And I'm your planning commission clerk. So we have formally met, and I thank you for your service to our community.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
No, we don't have any. We'll just defer and jump right into staff.
Okay.
That's okay with you?
Sounds wonderful.
It's always on there, but we don't have any public comment tonight for other than what we're doing, so.
Right. Okay. Leads us right on. Is there any old business? No. No old business, so new business. We'll turn it over to staff at this time. She will share that with us.
Hey. All right, I emailed you again today, another updated staff report, because I didn't have a lot of time to get some elements added to that. Also, in your email, I provided to you a presentation. The reason for that particular amendment to the staff report was because we did have a general complaint from the neighboring property that I needed to include in the staff report. So I'm going to give you you should have had time to review the other one. The only element was that I added the comment that was given to us to be shared and on record. Everything else stayed the same. So I'll go through that. I'll give you a brief synopsis of your planning commission report. It is lengthy. It was around 53 pages. So I'll condense that down to 2 pages. So we're here tonight to review special use permit application 2025-0205. And our applicant is Stephen Ryan Wilson for Wilson's Black and Tans. The proposal is for a special use permit to operate a commercial boarding and breeding kennel. The location of this particular entity is 643 Shell Hollow Lane, which is the Providence District. It is zoned rural farm. The parcel size is 4.125 acres, and the application was filed on February the 5th, 2025. So Mr. Wilson seeks approval for the special use permit to continue operating a canine boarding and breeding business, Wilson's Black and Tans, on his residential property. The kennel, active since 2023, currently operates without proper authorization. The special use permit would legitimize both the commercial boarding kennel, housing 5+ non-owner dogs for a fee, and the commercial breeding kennel, keeping 5 intact females for breeding and sale, as permitted under the Grayson County zoning ordinance sections 2-32 and 2-33. Again, the address for the site and the zoning context is 643 Shell Hollow Lane, tax map number 8-A-2C1. The access to this particular parcel is off Shell Hollow Lane. You have to take down Music Road, which is Route 818 off of Spring Valley Road. And the zoning again is rural farm, which allows kennels with a special use permit. The surroundings are prominently residential and agricultural uses. And the facilities would be a kennel that is located at the rear of the residence, buffered with vegetation and trees. So my key staffing analysis findings, compatibility with surrounding uses. The kennel is consistent with rural agricultural character and use. It's adequate distance from nearby residences. I've approximated based off using the GIS. That's granted. Closest being 422 feet, and that's from the projection of the kennel placement that was provided to us in our site plan. And then the furthest being 676 feet. I think the staff report says 650. I went back and looked at that again today, and I do believe it's somewhere in the neighborhood, which helps mitigate the noise and odor concerns. It does have vegetative buffers that assist in reducing the potential nuisances. Neighboring resident, William Baldwin, expressed concern. He came in on, I believe it was April 10th, citing recorded dog barking with the decimal data through though it is a non-calibrated app, the data shows potential for auditory intrusion. And the waste, asked one of owner, Miss Wilson, how the waste was actually going to be mitigated, and she indicated that the disposal was usually in the horse pasture or off-site. Public services, there are no impacts to roads and schools or emergency services with this use. And I did have a conversation with Animal Control Officer Haga, and he had no complaints or violations that had been issued. So I do have a presentation that was given to me. Well, I created a presentation, I should say, from the data that was given to me by Mr. Baldwin. And so I, as part of the Planning Commission, it is our responsibility to take that information, utilize that information basis of our decisions. So I have it put in a PowerPoint presentation. It is on your desk if you want to look at it. So I have it there. So Mr. Baldwin emailed me these. Like I said, these are not calibrated. There's special meters for that that are designed to be calibrated and used for these instances. However, these are definitely usable for planning commission to be able to make a determination. So you can see, he'd indicated 9:30 to 1:30, but I did note that the phone showed about 10:30 to about 12. So not in any particular order. I don't think I loaded them up, but the first one being 96 at 10:30, the other one being 69 decimals at 11:13, then again at 86 decimals at 11:37. There we go. And then 69 at 11:13. We have 91 decimals at 12. And at 1 o'clock, we had 89. And 87 at 10:46. Again, they are out of sync. I do apologize. And 86 at 11:37. So that is what was provided, and he also provided us, so that you can look at it, an audible decimal chart, which I thought was very helpful. But I wanted to expand on that because I want you to also think about other audibles. So I provided you what this decimal is, a decibel. And I've got this information from my illustrative book of development definitions that is used in all of our zones. So it gives us a definition. So it's a unit of sound pressure level measuring the amplitude of sound. Decibel abbreviation dB, as you saw in the recordings, is used to express noise level. The reference level is a sound pressure of 20 micronewtons per square meter. 0 decibels is the starting point on the scale of noise level, is about the weakest sound that can be heard by someone with very good hearing, which is not me, by the way, in an extremely quiet location. The noise level in any average residence is about 50. 20 feet from a subway train, if anyone has been to Washington, D.C. and rode the subway, you'll know how loud that is. The noise level is about 90, and 200 feet from a jet, it's about 120. So I expanded a little bit on that. I don't know if you can read that, but it is in your presentation. It goes through some of those audibles. So some of the ones characteristics, like a garbage truck and a powered lawnmower, which was 4 feet, was 100. And then we had an alarm clock 2 feet away, is about 80. Let's see. Usually those audibles were running around 80 or 90. So it kind of gives you an idea. But you'll note that those are 50 foot away and 2 foot away. So the audibles were reading anywhere between 87 to 90. And mind you that he is 600 and some feet away. Granted, they are not calibrated. So that being said, I wanted to make you aware of we had received this.
Can I interrupt and maybe
Not
bring
yet.
this up?
Not yet. I will let you know. Did you sign up?
There's a sign up sheet out for
So I have to present that.
Right.
It's my understanding there might be we probably mitigated the situation. But I will let all that be.
Do we know if it was AM or PM?
We do know that was 8.
What was the frequency of this? Hours apart or?
It was taken, there's 10:46, 11:37, there's 11:13, 12:02.
So it'd have to be
12.
louder than a jet, is what
Yeah.
you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just has to be about-
So, mind you,
about 2 jets.
these are dogs. They bark. I have 3. They bark. Okay. So notices were sent out, mailed to adjacent. Wait a minute. Let me go back to the comprehensive plan because that's very important. Because this is how we base our special use permits. Comprehensive plan alignment. While the plan does not explicitly call out kennels, the proposal aligns with economic development strategies, chapter 5, strategy 5-1. encouraging niche businesses and tourism-related activities such as hunting and events. Public notification and comments. Again, I've sent the adjoining landowners out. Was published in the newspaper, the declaration, because it serves this area of Elk Creek. Public concern was expressed, citing existing noise issues, and there were no other objections to date. So based off of state compliance, which is what we're looking at, the applicant must comply with 3.26507.2 of the Code of Virginia, which governs commercial dog breeding, including limits on animal numbers, breeding age, waste disposal, and record. I have a staff recommendation. If you've already read it, you will note that there was my approval of special use permit application 2025 0205 with the following conditions. I had this recommendation in the staff report prior to the complaint. My recommendation does not change. However, there might be some mitigation strategies that we can come up with. We can talk about it. But my first recommendation, or my approval was based on 4 conditions. Fully compliance with the state law 3.2-6507.2 regarding commercial breeding. Number 2 was any expansion or modification of the kennel would require a new permit review. Number 3 was submission of kennel records for an annual compliance checks before tag issuance. And number 4 would be that the special use permit would be voided if the business ceases for 24 months. So these conditions, I feel like, were designed to protect the community welfare, and it's your responsibility of operation of the kennel. Now, with that being said, does the planning commission have any more questions for me?
This has been in operation since 23.
Yes, sir.
Has there been any complaints?
No, sir.
Jake, how many dogs can you own?
Without a special use permit.
Yeah.
Very good question. To note that our ordinance specifically does not spell out how many dogs or felines can be kept on a residential property. It only specifies that if you are doing a business of breeding and boarding, then for a fee for service basis, then it's 5 or more. So technically, you can own dogs, and there is no minimum number based on our ordinance. So just because Mr. Wilson has dogs does not mean that he would have to be in here doing this, because that would mean everybody would have to have a permit to have dogs. The purpose of this is to be able to mitigate and make sure that these businesses are in compliance with the state laws, that these dogs are very well taken care of. And as you can look in your staff packet, you will note that there was numerous vet records. So I'm not saying that I feel like this particular business is a responsible business. So yes, you can have as many dogs or cats that you want, as long as you're not breeding and selling or boarding for a fee for service basis.
How will it affect this if the owner has his, say, 10 or 20 hunting dogs versus the breeding? Is that two separate, or does it all tie into the kennel?
If I have an application that has been produced in the office last year because of this situation. Had a previous supervisor want me to nail down certain kennel operations, training operations. This was extensively in the Fairview section. And so kind of looked through the state of Virginia, other localities as to what they were doing, kind of mimicked some of their application processes. So using what we have in the ordinance, you go through a checklist. So basically what happens is the treasurer now sends people to my office, they fill out their application, I do the approval or denial. And unfortunately, I denied this one, knowing that they were operating and boarding and breeding. We're here tonight to remedy that, so that they will have their business license, which is what the state requires. In the language, if you read it, they were required to have licensure. We as a county do not have business license. So this is a way to kind of help regulate that.
So, I'm sure I haven't seen your office kennels or anything, but just reading the state's requirements, that's pretty hefty responsibility right there.
True.
And plus what you're imposing on top.
Right. And to add to that, what was presented to me in your board packet, you'll note that they've been following most of that already. So it's really for them just getting the approval and the licensure per se.
Commission, any other questions for staff?
What does 80 decibels compare to a normal sound?
So the definition was a regular home is 50.
50?
And then 80 was an alarm clock 2 feet away. Or a hair dryer or a vacuum cleaner.
You said the residence is 600 feet away, right?
And buffered by trees and shrubs and
Vegetation.
Any other questions at this time? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Black, for your report. I believe we have Mr. Wilson with us. Would you like to step up to, can we do that?
Yeah, we
I want to make sure that we didn't have to enter the public hearing.
No.
We would like you to
He
present.
has the opportunity
your-
to speak for his
Well,
application.
that's what I thought. Something told me to double check. Sometimes things happen. So,
Some of you know me, my name's Ryan Wilson, this is my wife Sarah. We started a business called Wilson's Black and Tans, and we breed, sell, train black and tan coon dogs, other hound breeds, and had a great success in starting this. We are known throughout the United States, have clients come from different states such as Colorado, Texas, Florida, Georgia, and you name it, to purchase our puppies and train their dogs. They spend the night in the area to go on hunts with us as they come pick up their dog, or also spend time touring parts of Grayson County while we go hunting. We have a waiting list for our puppies because of the great bloodlines that we breed, so expect more clients throughout the years. We have helped in the benefit hunts to help others in need, and have had a great success in donations given for those benefits. Like we had one about 2 months ago for a boy, wasn't 10 years old. He was diagnosed with a major disease. We provided a little over $20,000 for this kid, just at a local coon club. We got that going on, and everybody pitched in within the county that hunted and other associations with that. So also, we would eventually like to encourage youth, veterans, others to come experience a hunt of our lifestyle. That being said, I'm part of the Wounded Warrior Project. We do like the Wounded Warriors turkey hunt and land. We do that. So that's something I wanna do, get started as far as coon hunting. Let them know our side livestock is, coon hunting goes way back. In this area, there's a lot of people that does it. As far as the hunting side of things, I mean, it's a large proponent in conservation. Without them, the hunter and the raccoon population would be out of control. Raccoons are a nuisance to anyone who has livestock, large or small, as well as house pets. Not only will they destroy feed stores, get in your feed, scat all over it where you got to feed your cows. I mean, they will also kill small animals such as chickens, ducks, rabbits, turkeys. So if you're a hunter, you kind of want to take a responsibility of this and stop some of that. In addition to that, they're also the number one species to transmit all these rabies, parvovirus, distemper. So having a local kennel that breeds, trains, and hunts these animals is doing a service to the community and farmers in the area so they can save their crops and other agricultural needs. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, at this time, do we have a motion to enter into the public hearing?
So move.
Have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are now entered into the public hearing for Mr. Stephen Ryan Wilson's Black and Tans. Mr. William Baldwin. Sir, if you would, step up to the podium, introduce yourself, state your address, please.
Bill Baldwin for the local. Elk Creek, 3371 Spring Valley Road. Thanks for the opportunity and letting me know about this and for all your service. I think we're gonna come to a good agreement on this. I finally got off my butt and went over there and talked to these folks and just was kind of dreading going over to complain about the dogs and it went very well. So I'm not gonna file a complaint. It is noisy, but to explain those were down at what was a hunting cabin. It's a guest house now. And my daughter and my grandkids, they sleep down there. And it's pretty noisy. It wakes them up in the night. They're not sleeping there these days. At my house, it's less. I think one of those recordings was from it. Those recordings actually showed that would be the peak in that time period. It runs from like 40 to 90 down by my guest house. It runs from about 20 to 80, occasionally at my house. But I've talked to Ryan. Well, I talked to Sarah actually. Now I've just met Ryan, and she went out and she was very apologetic and very nice about the whole thing. So it worked out good. She went out and ordered up some bark collars, and I think we're on the road to fixing this. I'm going to plant some evergreens along the edge, but it is, not every day, but frequently a couple days a week, 2 or 3 hours they bark during the day. It's not as loud at my house, like I think Jada said it's 675 feet, which seems about right. The hunting cabin guest house is about 200 feet, I'd say, something like that in there. So that's the real problem.
Can you pull up the GIS map?
Of course.
Yeah, it does, I'm glad to hear that we're reaching some agreement on this. I heard you say if it's expanded or modified, then it has to be redone.
Yeah.
So it's limited to the number of, that you have now, not dogs, but kennels.
Kennels.
So
Um,
I think we're good.
Let's see, there's the address of mine. That's probably the guest house right there. My house is about here, I would say. Yeah. And so the kennel's back around here, is that right? Something like that.
Thank you.
That's a good kill my neck.
Can you enlarge that on the screen?
Yeah, Willie's house there, if I got that right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so that's the guest house. Oh, I guess that's it. That's my cabin there. Should have put it over here.
Anyway, I'm real happy with the, have to re-permit it. It's an expansion or modification. Let's see, I explained about where I took the noise readings from. And if I didn't say it again, my neighbors were very gracious, and I think we're gonna work towards doing this. I'll plant some evergreens along the line. We'll do bark collars, and I'd be happy to pay for at least half of those. And odor, I didn't know there'd be an odor problem. I don't have anything with that yet, but hopefully it doesn't come up. But I hope this is a happy finish to this whole deal here. Once again, thanks for hearing me out.
All right, thank you very much.
Stay busy. Not too busy tonight, just one permit.
Okay, we have no one else signed up for the public hearing, so do we have a motion to close public hearing?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Public hearing is now closed. Commission, any discussion, thoughts?
Is, the hunting cabin, whatever, just sporadically occupied?
Yeah, sporadically. I'd say in the summer, I've got 5 grandkids. They all seem to cycle through, and I've got my 2 kids. They come up as well, and sometimes some other friends too. That was the original hunting cabin that was on the property, so now it's been
Thank you.
changed up.
Mr. Wilson, is the kennel the actual, where you can see the parking lot, looks like gravel parking lot?
That's our house. The kennel.
What is that thing by your house? Oh, it's a number.
Right here.
It's really hard to zoom in on this thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Stop right there. Yeah, that's good.
there we
There
go.
you go.
All right.
Okay.
Got it.
The kennel sport right here.
Okay.
I don't know what that is.
And honestly, I didn't even know that that was a cabin down
Oh,
there.
yeah.
It's not, it doesn't have a 911 address.
Oh, it was built there in '85. I think the guy was a high school teacher. Can't think of his name. Worked here at Independence High School.
You need to get your 911 address.
Oh, for that one? Yeah, I got a 911, I guess, for my house, and it shows directions coming across Shell Holler, but you can't get to it that way. You gotta come from Spring Valley. Cross Mark Horns and Tim Williams' place to get to mine.
Okay, commission, any thoughts, discussion?
Is this your full-time job?
No, sir. I work down here at the prison also,
Okay.
so this is more like a secondary job.
Gotcha, thanks.
How many can you have? Or does it say how many dogs he can have total for what he has now? As far as if it got approved?
5 or more. So by state law, if you read that code section, they can have up to 50 dogs. But with the recommendation from staff, any modifications to what they currently have would have to come back through here again.
How many dogs they have now?
I was told 6+. What does that mean, 6+?
8.
8. And how many are yours? Personally?
Right now, there's 7.
So you're boarding and training 1.
Yep.
So in essence, they can have their own dogs with no limit. But because he's training and breeding, or training this one, it's a fee for service, which threw him into a special use permit process. In reality, like I said, the ordinance does not have a limit as to how many dogs you can have as a companion animal. They're your own. Now, for instance, well, I guess because we're rural, we've never really set that. However, for me, I live in the city of Galax. can't have it through 3 or 4. 3. So, I mean, that's it for us. But because we are rural in nature and most everyone has enough land, fortunately, to do with what they want, we've never had any kind of restrictions, I presume, on anything. So the only reason that we have it is because it's in the code for commercial kennel, commercial boarding, and then we also have high volume kennels, which would go into a grooming kind of sort of thing, also boarding, but we also have that in the ordinance. But other than that, Mr. Wilson's allowed to have ever how many companion animals for his own personal use with no limit.
Mr. Wilson, what's the capacity of your kennel?
It's a 6-bay kennel. We add pups up to about 4 to 5 months old, put them together, and then we'll separate them. Whatnot. We also got just a small little kennel on the side that kind of attaches to it.
So basically you have 6 dogs?
Correct.
Plus puppies when you have
Right.
them. And occasionally you have,
If we need to move any out, usually have some buddies go take them competition hunting for a month, and then I'll move in dogs I need to train to fill in that kennel.
do you house dogs like for people going on vacation?
We haven't yet, but that's something that we could do.
Okay.
It's more on less of hound hunting.
But again, that's constricted by the space in your kennel, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So you can't have a large number of dogs.
Not unless I get another kennel.
How many female dogs do you have that you breed?
Right now, 4.
So do you breed them to where they have their pups at separate times?
Yeah.
And not all at once?
We're not doing, like I say, the first each cycle, say we get them bred then, we're definitely gonna skip a cycle or 2, because that's too hard on the female. I won't do that.
When do the pups go? Are they to 12 weeks or they stick around?
I like
for a
doing
year?
8 to 10 weeks. Sometimes I'll keep a couple pups, train them myself, that way they don't have the bad habits and not turn around and sell them to people.
How many breeding males do you have?
We have 2. One of them, me and my buddies are on.
Well, just looking at staff's recommendation, if it expands to be revised and everything, how many breeding females could you accommodate at this time for breeding purposes if they were yours?
I would just do 4.
So 4 with 2 males?
Yeah.
But how many could you accommodate? Say in a few months from now, you run over a deal in one, you're like, I really like her breed, so I'm gonna go ahead and get her. How many can you accommodate?
For my area, I'm maxed out. But of course, if I need to go up there to my mom and dad's or something like that. Put it out in there, because they're right across from me. They've got, I can't remember how many acres, just over 10 acres.
He said he could utilize his mom and dad's kennel, but if need be. And the reason I'm asking this question is, personally, how do you judge that? I know how that goes. He says he has 4 now, and he's probably gonna stay there, but if a case happens, he might say, hey, I won't find this deal again. So instead of that would be an expansion.
As long as he owns them, you can have how many.
Right, but I'm talking about breeding purposes for the kennel. So personally, I would feel better saying if it has an expansion over 6, he said he had 4 now with 2 males. If he had over 6 females, then it'd be revised. That would give him just a little bit. Yes, just a little bit. I mean, that, because
Instead of limiting this max occupancy.
instead of saying, well, you've got another dog, you have to bring this back before us now.
I don't wanna come, once we do this, we wanna make it so that he's able to do his business, operate the business. And I see what you're saying. Expansion, allowing him to grow to somewhat, but then he's limited by, I guess in my head, I was thinking expansion of another kennel,
Right.
not number of dogs.
He's already maxed out now.
But wait a minute. He owns them. They're his, and he's not breeding those.
4 breeded.
Got 4. He's breeding. 2 females.
And if someone wants to breed to one of his males,
We could have up to 6 dogs. That's not his, correct? Is that what we're saying?
Why don't we just suggest a limit on breeding females? Like now, he's got what, 4 females? Say, max of 8.
but you also take in others. Say I had a black and tan and wanted to breed to your male. You would take my dog in for a certain period of time for that purpose, correct?
Correct.
Typically, how often do you run into that? I know you're hoping to grow, but typically right now.
One point, we was averaging 2 to 3 dogs a month. That's all I take on, because that's too much to do. And for me to get the extra kennel space for that, of course, I've got some buddies that will competition hunt, and I'll let them keep them competition hunting for that month till it's time for the dog session to be done. And then owner will come by and pick up. He's happy. Then I'll go back and get my dogs and be replaced. So I'm always using my kennel.
Right.
So you're taking your dogs to one of your buddies for them to keep.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. He's staying within his.
he's staying within, but I'm looking at,
If he wants.
if he wants to expand just a little bit before it comes back to us, then he wouldn't have to have his buddies take his dogs. And
What's the capacity of your kennel?
It's a 6-bay kennel.
6-bay kennel.
So only 6 dogs, you can't double them up in there.
We do with pups. We don't want no
So
certain
why don't we say,
You do have to.
if he expands, if he expands beyond the current kennel, he has to have another use permit.
Right.
I agree.
What was that again?
If he expands beyond the capacity of the current kennel, 6 females, he has to have another use permit.
Well, he only has 4 females right now.
That's what I'm saying, but he can have 6. And if he expands beyond that, then he has to get another use permit.
Well, is that 6 for himself? He says he takes in 2 or 3 a month.
Well, let's
to breed,
separate,
right, other folks.
Right.
let's separate the breeding and the care, for example. Boarding, yeah.
But in order to do that, I mean, if you're gonna have to get more runs.
Right.
Would that entail, would you add to runs to your present kennel, or would you have to build a separate kennel, another kennel?
I would have to have probably Blue Ridge Structures and Hillsville to make me another kennel.
So it'd be 2 separate kennels.
Right.
To accommodate.
Right.
So,
Is that something you're hoping to do?
I'd like to expand one day, but as of right now, I'm content at the prison. I've been there for 6 years. This right now is like a side job, maybe some extra
so
cash.
you got enough on your plate.
I sure do.
Right.
So if he comes back for another structure, we can make you get another permit, but then as long as he operates within his means of this structure,
If-
he should be fine.
If you had 6 breeding females, how many, kennel dogs could you accommodate?
6 breeding,
If you had, yeah,
You yourself have 6. How many?
like I said, if I've got the full capacity in my kennel, I'd have to, at this point, take it to my mom and dad's kennel. Or like I can call my buddy up and he could take on however I need, because he's got a big old kennel too, and it's separate. He'll hold on to that, and then I'll put in what I need to for that space. It's not gonna be expanded right now.
what would you like your capacity to be right now?
Right now, I'd keep it how it is. I'm content, like I said, years down the road, I'm content. I don't want more dogs. There's probably 6, 7 years down the road, like,
At this time, you don't want more.
no, I like what I got, 'cause
Are we gonna establish it on the number of dogs or the kennel, the actual kennel?
Well, what
I
I
get what
was,
you're trying to do. You're trying to prevent him from having to come back here.
Exactly.
And I see that. I see the benefit of that,
How
but
much is another permit?
how many bays does your kennel have right now?
just 6 bays.
6 bays.
And we got a building to the side of our house, that's for my 4-wheel and everything, but we've already got another kennel built into that. It's kind of how the building came. I wasn't even planning on having another dog in there. So technically I can have another dog as far as training purposes and that too, but it joins with my building with my tool supplies, stuff like that.
So you keep your four-wheeler out.
Yeah.
Well,
My dog house, maybe get in trouble.
It's my dog house.
So he's got 6 right now. How's the commission feel? I'm just throwing this out here. If he has 6 right now, if he exceeds an 8 bay kennel, say he wants to build a kennel on the side of what he's got, 1 on each side, that'd give him 8. Let him do up to 8 before he comes back for a revisement.
Is that
That
feasible for you?
I agree with
Can
that.
you do that?
Yeah.
On that
That's
same
what
side?
I've been trying to get out.
Yeah,
You know, a number.
yeah, that way, I just don't see any sense of things change in a few months, because things can change fast. We never know. That way, he's got a little leeway there to expand without having to come right back, and it may not ever happen, but it may. So, what's y'all's thoughts?
I think that's a good way to go.
I think it is too.
What do you think, Mr. Jones?
Sounds good to me.
Mr. Ward? So, how can we word that?
you're the one that made the recommendation.
I'll make a recommendation that we approve as staff has recommended, with the exception of the number 2, any modifications or expansions of existing kennel facilities will require a revision of the special use permit, and replace that with, at this time, he has a 6 bay kennel and the opportunity to expand to an 8 bay kennel prior to revising his special use permit.
Can we not just say any modifications or expansions of existing kennel beyond 8?
There you go.
There you go. So that's why I asked you to start with.
8 facilities, 8
You just didn't want to write all that down, did you?
existing kennel facilities. Facilities, that's 8 facilities. should it be
Facility.
8 bay?
Kennel
Kennels.
facility.
Kennel, 8 bay kennel.
Yeah, they can. Just leave it at
Bay kennel.
So- that. That's my recommendation.
Sounds good.
So I will,
Well, you get to breed a dog, pup or $1,000 or?
I like it cash, but I've got my own.
I mean, you're getting pretty good. I mean, so we need to.
I'll cash.
good answer.
Money talks.
So, I made the recommendation. Dan, do you want to take the vote?
All right, so,
Or get a second and take? Sorry.
You made the motion, I second.
Ms. Black had something here.
so we're gonna approve it
Yes.
as is written with a modification to number 2, changing it to 8 bay kennel,
Kennel.
which would require the revision of the special use permit. Okay. I just
So-
need to know how to word that before we send it to the board of supervisors.
Right. So, I'll let you go ahead and ask for a second, and then we'll take a vote.
All right, I second. Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion approved.
Your roll call vote, please.
All right, roll call vote.
Sorry. Mr. Walls,
Aye.
Mr. Boyer,
Aye.
Mr. Hyatt, Mr. Ward, Mr. Jones, who's sitting? Ms. Hatch, Mr. Ballard.
Aye.
Motion approved. All right, motion carries. So from here, I will get you a letter stating that the planning commission has, approved your special use permit with that modification. You understand what those conditions are, you got to read them in the staff report, correct? You're okay with those? Okay, so what we'll have to do is get you the letter, and then I've got to get it republished and back to the board of supervisors for final. And so we'll hear this again with board of supervisors in the May meeting. Okay?
Yep.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, and good luck.
Appreciate y'all's time.
All right.
All right.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, guys. Y'all have a good night.
To move right along, staff wants to discuss the work calendar for the remaining year.
Right, so we can't sit stagnant. What I have provided to you on your desk is the matrix that we approved for the board of supervisors. Is that December that we do that? In
Yes.
December. I didn't keep myself away. So, will you share with me?
I'll share with you.
So that we are moving forward and not sitting stagnant in our action items, we need to run through and pick out maybe some short-term or medium-term or long-term, whichever you all want to do. We need to start working towards meeting these particular strategies. That relates only to the planning commission. And then it's just kind of going through them. You all make a decision, and I will start working on implementing, getting something going. So and it may take several months. So we're not going to inundate ourselves with a bunch of these, but we need to get something. We need to start moving forward to get some of these accomplished. So we can go through them. Chapter
So we're
3,
looking at responsible agencies.
responsible agency. So I don't see anything in chapter 3 on population and housing. That looks like that's being met, trying to be met by the administration office.
What chapter you on?
Who? Chapter 4 is all school board. Sheriff's Department. And then chapter 5 is all gonna be board of supervisors and admin. It's looking good, guys.
511.
511, what does it say?
Support and encourage the development of advanced communication infrastructure, broadband, wireless internet, and cell coverage towers.
We do that all the time. That's ongoing, which we just completed that strategy last month, February. I do know that I've had 2 new cell tower, not applications, but Department of Historical Resources is researching for any kind of historical purposes for 2. But whether or not that even comes to fruition, I don't know. There's no application that's been given to the planning commission for review. So we'll move on. We're actually meeting that one. This will be agricultural and forestry, which will be chapter 6.
Seven one.
Oh, you've already jumped on that.
Yeah, transportation.
Okay, let's see what we got.
Planning commission, the planning department.
Yeah,
So that's just you, though. We're out of that.
I'm working on that always. That's always a strategy. Which, Smart Scale was approved. The last Smart Scale project that we have will be the one at Mountville in 89. The most recent one that's actually in production right now is the Smart Scale project that Will Crawford put into place, which was the alignment of Snow Hill and Edmonds Road on 89. That's just how long it takes to get these projects to come through to
Is
fruition.
that what's going on out there and all that construction?
Yeah, that was a Smart Scale project that was done by the previous planning commissioner, or planning department staff, and planning commission approved, board approved, but it is the realignment of Snow Hill, Edmonds Road.
7475.
Partner with the towns to expand bicycling and pedestrian transportation.
Options.
And then proceed with phase 4 of the Independence pedestrian bike. Well, I've about wrapped that baby up. We've actually done that one. That one actually can be probably checked off as complete. Because we just wrapped that one up.
7-4.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
7.5.
7.5. The bike trail.
I've got phase
Wouldn't
I've got
7.4
phase 5 going now.
Wouldn't 7.4 and 7.5 be complete then?
I guess it would be, because I don't know any other, the only other thing I can think about is helping the town. I see a lot of kids walking the side of the road from the school to Food City.
Yes.
It could use a sidewalk for safety purposes. That would be the only option I can see right there. But it would be a joint helping the town get that grant for those sidewalk, like we're doing in the city of Galax, those bike to school or walk to school programs that are out there. That'd be the only area that I could see a use of a sidewalk, because they must park down there or they go down there to get food.
What after school programs
Yeah.
they walk.
They used to cut through the
Football field.
walkway and the practice field.
And they still do, they may, but I do see a lot of
A
young
lot
adults
walks
I see a
around.
lot of
walking that side,
walking
that area underneath those trees.
Yeah.
That could be a possibility for that one. But it would have to be in conjunction with the town. for a sidewalk project.
Something we can pursue.
True, we can look into that. I don't know, that's a grant, but I'm not sure who that grant is through. It may be through a VDOT, walk to school grant, like the pedestrian bike trail was. So we're gonna leave that one as ongoing. If that's okay with y'all.
7-7.
Amend the administrative process for rezones to include site plans and review interaction with VDOT for rezoning applications. I can have a discussion with VDOT as to what that would entail. I don't even know, we've not had a rezone that I'm aware of with you all. I've never done a rezone. Y'all, you and Lisa,
You?
y'all ever done a rezone application before? Well, you may have one.
Okay.
And we can look at VDOT. I know they want to be involved in our land use planning. And so all they have requested from land use office have requested that VDOT be involved if we get subdivisions, if we get special use permits of nature that would require a traffic impact study, then that might be something that would fall into. So we are required to let them make comment before we approve. So maybe that will help speed up the process or whatever that might be. But that is something that I can come back to the commission on as to how that particular strategy can be closed out.
Sounds good. 8-1. Board encourages the development of advanced communication infrastructure, broadband, wireless internet, and cell coverage towers.
So that one was the same one that we just done on 511. So we support that each time that an application gets issued. Typically, planning commission approves that.
4's closed.
8-4's closed now since it's completed.
It's 8-5. Following you, us.
And I don't know that if you all have been to the park, but we now have a new access road with that sidewalk. If you've not been up there, you can take industrial, hang left on corporate, and you can go right into the back side of the park. It comes out right at the fields 1 and 2.
That's good.
What was the other?
8-5. Is that just you or is that us?
I think they got educated.
They
know where it's at.
Yeah, they got a real education this time.
Let's just move on. I'm working on that daily, if you all only knew. So I'm conducting education and outreach on a daily basis on those floodplain properties.
People down there, we established down there.
I spent the majority of the day on the river yesterday talking to everybody.
Okay.
So I do that on a daily now.
I got to see what you'd say.
Let's see anything else.
We had any, we turbine applications, any feelers.
Funny that you ask. We did receive, I received an FAA notice. I'm kind of in the website, so that if there are applications being submitted for the FAA to review, I get an email. And so I get them all the time. And so we just kind of, I go down through them and I'm looking for anything that says Grayson County. So I did receive the other day an email notice that the wind turbines that was originally on the table reissued or reinstated their application for the FAA review. So, it was, again, the green card for public notification was sent according to the application to the city of Galax. I wrote a letter in response to the inappropriate public notification, cited their FAA regulations, and I mailed it off to the FAA for public comment, asking them to reapply and resubmit for public comment because it wasn't notified properly. The county wasn't notified properly. I don't know what will come of it.
11-1. Review existing zoning districts and consider new zoning districts to achieve community land use goals.
That's exactly what I wanted to work on. So we probably need to start looking at land use maps. The reason that I say that, with development changing and the future of land use, we've never had a land use map. So I would like to really work on trying to get something like that implemented for us to be able to make these decisions like we did tonight. I'm just encourage development being in certain areas of the county. And one of those, when I said something about a rezone, I had a gentleman come in today from a local RV resort requesting us to consider a rezone application. So got to start that process, but that might be something that we look at and how we can help them achieve their goals at that park. So a land use map would help drive that as well, be able to make that decision, which we do not have. I think we have them in essence, but not an actual land use map.
So that would be something we'll work with IT on.
Yeah, other entities, I would like to bring in other people, agricultural, economic development type, to have discussions with the planning commission as we look towards what the future of the county is going to look like.
11-2.
Continue zoning ordinance reviews and consider amendments for ease of use and achieve land use goals as necessary. So
Ties right in with 11.
ties right into 11-1, and it very well could be that we need to make or amend some language in the ordinance to help with some of these difficult situations in the ordinance. I've had some conversations about roads, setbacks to roads. That's something that we probably need to discuss too. Roads being in our ordinance, it doesn't really say. So you've got to step back from a private road. It's being maintained by a private entity. Our setback is 35 feet. Well, because of that road, there was a gentleman that ended up having to move his home, which was costly for him. So
Was it a
I promised
private road?
him, we need to clarify road in our zoning ordinance, whether it's state and private roads should not be.
Right.
We should not have a
Say on private road.
right. Needs to be clarified. So that could fall into 11-2.
Yeah, that needs to be addressed.
So-
Support land-based. That's one for Brian.
What is it? Continue to support web-based GIS
Yeah.
citizens use. we are working to achieve that, I do believe. Good things are happening down in the GIS department. Review and amend land use ordinances to ensure that they are aligned with each other, meet the state and federal criteria, align the ordinances with land use goals. Back to 11.1, which we don't have a map, but we do have land use goals. So if that's something that the planning commission wants to start work on, I will start the process of, right there is several months worth of work. And I can come back to the commission with some ideas of how we can get started on land use mapping.
Well, it appears it's something that needs to be addressed.
We've got it in as long-term. What is that, 5 years out? 5+ years. And actions may be initiated between 3 to 5 years as the plan's adoption that may be completed beyond the first 5 years of the plan's adoption. So I get it, it's a long-term process, but I think it's a conversation that needs to be had, and how can we implement that map?
That's right.
It ties right back into 11.2 and 11.1.
11.8.
Sponsor sustainability analysis for land use types and develop a future land use map based in recommendations of the sustainability analysis. So that might be something that we can work on since it's a short term, which would help guide the land use map. Don't you think I knew that was there? Amend administrative process rezones for this, I will check with that because that's also 7.7. We can get that one probably taken care of pretty quickly.
And you plan on utilizing 11.10.
They're coming May 1st.
So 11.11.
Consider amendments to the subdivision ordinance to require surveys into our land division data, digital AutoCAD DX files, which is what Justin had originally said.
Right.
If that is something that we can always get in there and amend that subdivision to allow that. That's short term.
That should be a quick fix.
Yeah, that's a quick fix. And then
11.13.
planning department, conduct education and out. Quit, I do that every day. All right, so what do you think? Do you think we should start with the analysis? Suitability analysis for land use types and develop a future land use map based on recommendations of the suitability analysis? That will actually be something that would have to be contracted out. We would have to maybe work with planning district commission on that. I can reach out to them and see what they have to say about that. If they can offer some guidance with the MRPDC and then again the extension office. I know Mr. Sperlin has asked numerous times about that map.
Sounds like it needs to be worked on.
So do I have an agreement from the planning commission that we will continue working on strategy 11.8 and wrap up 7.7, which is that subdivision question, rezone question from VDOT. We can wrap those two up.
And 11.11.
And 11.11. 11.11.
I think we would have knocked those
Those
two out
those
quick
two out pretty quick and get them checked off.
and then proceed with the maps.
Okay.
I mean, that's just my thought.
Okay.
What y'all think? That way, done, and then
Done.
All right, so
done.
11:11
Done.
and then
Then a mess.
7:7 for the next little bit. Okay, all right.
Got any other news for us? Anybody have anything? Thank y'all.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I was getting ready to ask. Thank you, Lisa.
Who's second?
Do it. Who's second, Travis?
Ain't nobody
All in
second.
favor of adjourning the meeting at this time, let me know by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Thank y'all.
And I'm glad to see you.